Jack Harper wiped sweat from his forehead as he hunched over his microscope in the small lab. The Europa research station was cold as usual, but his excitement made him warm. After 3 years studying alien biology on Jupiter's icy moon, he had finally found something big. "This cell structure isn't like anything we've seen before," he muttered to himself. The blue sample glowed under the light. It came from a strange rock that a probe had pulled from Europa's underground ocean last week. A loud bang made Jack jump. Then another. The whole station shook. Red lights flashed and alarms blared. Warning, unknown vessels approaching. All personnel to security stations. Jack grabbed his datapad and shoved it in his pocket. Whatever was happening, he needed to save his research. He ran to the door and peeked into the hallway. Smoke filled the air and people shouted in the distance. "Doctor." "Harper," a voice called. It was Liz, one of the security officers. Her face was dirty and she held a gun. "We need to evacuate. Something is attacking the station." "What is it?" "Militants from Mars?" Jack asked, following her down the hall. "Not human," Liz said, her voice tight. "First contact and they're not." "Friendly?" They turned a corner and froze. 3 tall figures blocked their path. They stood 7 feet tall with sleek bodies covered in what looked like purple scales. Their heads were long with 4 glowing yellow eyes. They wore black armor with strange symbols that glowed green. "Viridians," Jack whispered. He had studied reports about them. A distant alien species that humans had only observed from afar. No one had met them face to face. Liz raised her gun, but one of the aliens moved faster than Jack could see. It knocked the weapon away and grabbed her. Another alien raised a strange device. "Wait," Jack shouted, stepping forward with his hands. "Up," he pointed to the symbols on their armor. "You're not Imperials. Those are rebel markings." The aliens stopped. They looked at each other, making clicking sounds with their mouths. The one holding Liz spoke in a deep voice. Its English was rough but clear. "The human knows our signs." "How?" "I'm a xenobiologist," Jack said slowly. "I study alien life. I recognize your symbols from long-range footage. You're fighting against your empire?" "The alien that seemed to be." The leader stepped closer. Its yellow eyes studied Jack's face. "You know of our struggle?" it asked. "Only what we've observed," Jack said. "The Viridian Empire has been expanding, but some of your people oppose this. You fight for freedom." More explosions rocked the station. The leader made a quick decision. "Take this one," it said, pointing at Jack. "Kill the other." "No," Jack stepped between Liz and the aliens. "If you want me to cooperate, let her go." "I'll come with you willingly." The leader made those clicking sounds again, which Jack guessed was laughter. "You bargain when you have nothing to offer?" It asked. Jack thought fast. "I have knowledge. I understand your biology better than any human. I know about your respiratory system that processes methane. I know about your 3-chambered hearts." The alien's eyes widened slightly. It spoke to the others in their language, a series of clicks and whistles. "Very well," the leader finally said. "The female lives if you come without struggle." Jack nodded to Liz. "Tell Earth what happened. Tell them I went willingly." "Jack, don't do this," Liz pleaded. "It's what I've wanted my whole life," Jack said, smiling a little. "To learn about alien life up close." The aliens put restraints on Jack's wrists and pushed him forward. As they walked through the damaged station, Jack saw bodies of both humans and aliens. The attack had been violent. They reached a docking bay where a strange ship waited. It was black with green lights, shaped like a crescent moon. Jack was pushed inside. The interior was dark and humid. It smelled like a mix of sulfur and something sweet he couldn't name. "Sit," the leader ordered, pushing Jack onto a bench made of some kind of hard resin. As the ship detached from the station, Jack looked out a small window. The Europa research facility was burning in several places. Other alien ships surrounded it. He hoped most of the humans had escaped. The leader approached him again. It removed its helmet, revealing a face that was both reptilian and insect-like. Its skin was purple with faint patterns. 4 yellow eyes blinked at different times. "I'm Subcommander Zex," it said. "You are now property of the Viridian Liberation Front." "I'm Jack Harper," he replied, trying to stay calm. "And I'd prefer to be an ally, not property." Zex made that clicking sound again. "Humans are strange. You face death, yet speak of alliance. Why did you attack us?" Jack asked. "Humans aren't. Your enemies. Your outpost sits on resources we need," Zex said, "and your people have made deals with the Empire." "What?" This was news to Jack. "Earth has no official contact with the Viridian Empire." "Your corporations do," Zex hissed. "They sell metals and technology to Imperial traders." Jack frowned. That was possible. Earth's corporations often worked beyond government oversight. The ship jerked suddenly. Alarms blared. "Imperial ships approaching," someone called out in the alien language, which Jack partly understood from his studies. "Prepare jump engines," Zex ordered. It turned to Jack. "The Empire wants this area. They will kill your people whether we are here or not." Jack felt sick. He had just wanted to study alien life, not get caught in an alien war. The ship shook violently as weapons hit its shields. Jack held onto his bench. The stars outside the window blurred as the ship accelerated. "Why take me?" Jack asked when things calmed down. Zex stared at him with those unsettling yellow eyes. "You know our biology. Few humans do." "That makes you useful," it paused, "or dangerous." "I can help you," Jack said quickly. "My knowledge could be valuable." "Perhaps," Zex said, "or perhaps you will be executed when we reach base." Subcommander Vril wanted all humans killed. Jack swallowed hard. "Then why am I here?" "Curiosity," Zex admitted. "You recognized our symbols, you know things." "I wish to know how much before deciding your fate." "The ship jumped into some kind of faster-than-light travel." The view outside turned into streaks of light. "Where are we going?" Jack asked. "To our hidden base," Zex said. "Far from human space." "Far from Imperial eyes," Jack nodded slowly. Fear and excitement mixed in his chest. He was the first human to be taken by the Viridian rebels. He might also be the first to die at their hands. But if he survived, what he could learn would be worth the risk. As the alien ship carried him into the unknown, Jack Harper knew his life had changed forever. The real question was whether he would live long enough to see where this journey would take him. Jack woke up to a gentle shaking. His body felt heavy and his mouth was dry. He opened his eyes and saw Subcommander Zex standing over him. "We have arrived, human," Zex said. "You slept through the landing." Jack sat up slowly. His head hurt. "You drugged me?" "A safety measure," Zex replied. "You cannot know the exact location of our base." Jack stood on shaky legs. Zex guided him to the ship's exit. When the door opened, Jack's breath caught in his throat. They stood in a massive cave. The ceiling was at least 100 feet high, with glowing blue crystals that provided light. Dozens of alien ships were docked around them. Hundreds of Viridians moved about, carrying supplies or working on equipment. The air was warmer than on the ship and smelled of minerals. "This is your rebel base?" Jack asked. "One of many," Zex said. "This asteroid holds 20,000 of our people." "Asteroid?" Jack looked up. "We're inside an asteroid?" "In the belt. Between your 5th and 6th planets," Zex said. "The Empire does not patrol here often." Two armed Viridians approached. They wore the same black armor with green symbols as the others. They looked at Jack with distrust. "Why is the human not restrained?" one asked. "He will cooperate," Zex said. "He wishes to learn about us as much as we wish to learn from him." The guards didn't seem convinced, but they didn't argue. They escorted Jack and Zex through the cave city. Viridian homes were carved into the rock walls. Some areas had gardens growing strange plants under purple lights. Jack noticed many of the Viridians looked thin. Some children played in an open area, but they moved slowly, without much energy. "Your people are hungry," Jack said quietly. Zex's eyes narrowed. "The Empire blocks supply routes. Food is ... They entered a building near the center of the cave. Inside, Viridians sat at screens with strange symbols. It seemed like a command center. An older Viridian approached. Its purple scales had faded to a pale lavender, 4 eyes fixed on Jack with intense dislike. "This is the human you risked our mission for, Sub-Commander?" the elder asked. "Commander Vril," Zek said, with a slight bow. "This human knows our biology. He recognized our rebel markings. He may be useful." Vril circled Jack, studying him. "Humans have aligned with the Empire. They are enemies." "Some humans," Jack corrected. "Not all of us. Most don't even know your species exists." Vril made a harsh clicking sound. "It speaks boldly for a prisoner. I can help you," Jack said. "I'm a scientist who studies alien life. I might see things your doctors miss." Vril and Zek spoke in their language. Jack caught a few words he recognized: dangerous, knowledge, and something about the Queen. Finally, Vril turned back to Jack. "You will work under guard in our medical facility. If you try to escape or harm anyone, you die. If you prove useful, you live." "Fair enough," Jack said. CX led Jack to another area of the asteroid. This room was filled with medical equipment. Several Viridians lay on beds. They looked sick with dull scales and labored breathing. "What's wrong with them?" Jack asked. "A virus," Zek said. "It spreads among our young. Our medicines have limited effect." A female Viridian approached. She was shorter than the males with brighter purple scales. The patterns on her skin formed more complex designs. "This is the human?" she asked Zex. "Yes, Jack Harper, this is Tella, our lead medical officer." Tella's 4 eyes studied Jack with curiosity rather than hostility. "Can you really help us?" "I can try," Jack said. "I need to understand the virus first." "Can I see your data?" Tella showed Jack to a screen. The symbols were strange, but the medical scans were similar enough to human ones that he could understand them. He studied the information for hours while Zex watched him carefully. "This virus attacks respiratory systems," Jack finally said. "But it's not like anything I've seen before. Can you cure it?" Zex asked. "Not immediately," Jack admitted. "But I might be able to help manage the symptoms while your bodies fight it." Over the next few days, Jack worked with Tella. He found that certain Earth medicines he knew about might help the sick Viridians. He explained the formulas, and Tella's team created similar compounds. When they tried the medicine on a sick child, its breathing improved within hours. The Viridian medical team was amazed. They quickly made more medicine for the others. Jack gained some trust among the rebels. His guard was reduced to just 1 Viridian who followed him at a distance. He was given better food and a small room of his own instead of a cell. One evening, as Jack ate dinner in the common area, a small Viridian child approached him. It had bright purple scales that seemed to shimmer in the light. "Are you the human who made the medicine?" the child asked in broken English. Jack nodded. "Yes, I helped a little." The child held out a small crystal that glowed blue. "For you. Thank you for helping my sister." Jack took the crystal, touched by the gesture. "Thank you." The child ran back to its family. Jack noticed other Viridians watching him. Some nodded in respect. Others still looked suspicious. Zex sat down across from Jack. "You have impressed many here." "I just did what I could," Jack said. "Commander Vril has agreed you should have limited access to our database," Zex said, "to help you understand our biology better." Jack tried not to show his excitement. "That would be very helpful. But know this, human." Zex leaned closer. "Some information remains restricted, especially anything about our queen." "Your queen?" Jack asked. "You mean Queen Vexara? The one you're rebelling against?" Zex's eyes widened in surprise. "You even know her name?" "We've intercepted some Imperial broadcasts," Jack explained. "We know she rules the Viridian Empire with a tight grip. That's about all." Zex seemed troubled. "There is much more to our conflict than that. But now is not the time to discuss it." Later that night, Jack sat in his room reviewing the Viridian database he'd been given access to. Most of it was basic information: biology, history, culture. But he noticed large sections were blocked. Anything related to the Queen or Imperial governance was restricted. Jack's curiosity grew. What were the rebels hiding? What was so special about their queen that even mentioning her made them uncomfortable? As he scrolled through the database, he found a reference to something called the tribute. It was only mentioned once in a historical text, but the section was cut off before explaining what it meant. Jack knew he had to learn more. The rebels had a weakness they weren't sharing, and that information might be key to his survival, or even to helping end their conflict. He closed the database and lay back on his bed. The blue crystal the child had given him glowed softly in the dark. Somewhere in this asteroid, hidden among the rebels, was a secret about QueenHFY. Jack was determined to find it. 2 weeks passed, and Jack became a familiar face in the rebel base. The medicine he helped create saved many sick children. Even Commander Frill nodded to him when they passed in the halls. Now Jack spent most of his time in the medical bay with Tella. They worked well together despite their differences. Jack found her easier to talk to than the other Viridians. "Why did you join the rebels?" Jack asked her one day as they sorted medicines. Tella's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. Something Jack learned meant she was thinking carefully. "My family lived on a farming moon," she said. "When QueenHFY needed more resources for her wars, she took our land. Those who resisted were killed. My parents sent me away before the Imperial troops arrived." "I'm sorry," Jack said. "Many here have similar stories," Tella replied. "The Queen takes what she wants. Her power grows while her people suffer." Jack thought about the mysterious tribute he had read about. This power she has, is it just political or something more? Tella's scales darkened slightly, a sign of discomfort. "We should focus on our work." Jack knew he had touched on something important, but he didn't push. He needed to find another way to learn about the Queen's power. Later that day, Jack was helping move supplies to a storage area when he overheard 2 Viridian guards talking. "Another Imperial fleet was spotted near the Krell system," one said. "So close?" the other replied. "If they find us here?" "Commander Vril says we may need to evacuate soon. The Queen's powers are stronger after her last tribute. Her ships can travel faster now." Jack pretended not to hear, but his mind raced. The Queen's powers increased after a tribute? What exactly was this ritual? That night, Jack couldn't sleep. He paced in his small room, thinking. The blue crystal the child had given him sat on his shelf, glowing softly. Jack picked it up, turning it in his hands. Something about its light reminded him of the crystals in the ceiling of the main cave. An idea formed in his mind. The next morning, he asked Zex if he could visit the cave's library to learn more about Viridian biology. Zex agreed, but assigned a guard to watch him. The library was a quiet room with data terminals and old scrolls. Made of some kind of thin metal sheets? Jack pretended to study biology texts while looking for any mention of tribute or the Queen's powers. After hours of searching, he found nothing useful. Disappointed, he started to leave when his eye caught something. In a corner sat a very old container with ancient-looking metal scrolls. The container had a symbol that matched one of the green marks on the rebels' armor. Jack casually moved closer. His guard was distracted, talking to another Viridian. Quickly, Jack opened the container and pulled out a scroll. The writing was older, harder to read, but he recognized a symbol that looked like the Viridian word for queen. He took the scroll to a quiet table and carefully unrolled it. The text was in an ancient dialect, but Jack had studied enough Viridian language to understand parts of it. The scroll described a ritual called the Queen's Tribute. According to the text, Viridian queens possessed enhanced abilities, stronger telepathy, faster healing, and control over certain technologies. But these powers required regular tributes to maintain. Jack read further, his excitement growing. The tributes were willing sacrifices, Viridians who offered their genetic material to the Queen through a ritual. The Queens absorbed something from the tributes that stabilized their enhanced DNA. Without regular tributes, the Queen's powers would fade and eventually they would sicken and die. The text mentioned that the best tributes were those with varied genetic patterns and willing hearts. This was it, the weakness the rebels didn't talk about. If Queen Vexara needed tributes to maintain her power, stopping those tributes could weaken her. Just then, Jack's guard noticed what he was reading. The Viridian rushed over and snatched the scroll away. "This area is restricted," the guard said angrily. "You will return to your quarters now." Back in his room, Jack couldn't stop thinking about what he had learned. The Queen needed tributes. But why were the rebels keeping this secret? If it was a weakness, why not use it? Later that evening, Tella came to check on him. She seemed worried. "I heard you were reading the ancient texts," she said. Jack decided to be honest. "I found information about the Queen's tribute. Why haven't the rebels used this against her? If she needs tributes to maintain her power, couldn't you stop them somehow?" Tella sighed. "It's not that simple. The tributes are voluntary and they come from her loyal followers. We can't reach them inside the Imperial Palace." She paused. "And there's more. The texts don't tell the whole story." "What do you mean?" Jack asked. "The Queens don't just need any tribute," Tella explained. "They need genetically compatible ones. As the royal line has continued, fewer and fewer Viridians are compatible. That's why Queen Vexara has become more cruel. She's desperate to find compatible tributes." Jack thought about this. So if she doesn't get these tributes, her powers will fade and eventually she will die, Tella finished. "But by then she will have destroyed countless worlds in her search." An alarm suddenly blared throughout the base. Tella's scales paled with fear. "What's happening?" Jack asked. "Imperial scouts," Tella said. "They must have found us." They rushed to the command center. Viridians were running in all directions. On a large screen, Jack saw small Imperial ships near the asteroid belt. Zex was giving orders. "Prepare evacuation protocols. All non-essential personnel to the transport ships." He noticed Jack and Tella. "The Imperial fleet is only hours behind their scouts." "They found our location. How?" Jack asked. "I thought this place was well hidden." "The Queen's powers grow," Commander Vril said, joining them. "Her telepathic abilities can sense large gatherings of our kind across greater distances now." Jack's mind raced, connecting pieces of information. The Queen's powers, the tributes, the genetic compatibility. "I need to see my blood work," he suddenly said to Tella. "The tests you ran when I first arrived?" Tella looked confused but pulled up the data on a nearby screen. Jack studied it, comparing his human DNA structure to the Viridian samples. "Look at this," he said, pointing to specific patterns. "Human DNA has similarities to Viridian DNA in these regions, the very regions that matter for the tribute ritual." Tella's 4 eyes widened. "That's impossible." "Not impossible," Jack said, "just unlikely. But it explains why the Queen has been interested in Earth. She might have discovered that humans could potentially serve as tributes." The implications hit him hard. If he was right, the Queen wasn't just fighting rebels. She was potentially seeking a new source of tributes to maintain her power. Jack turned to Zex and Vril. "I have an idea, a way to stop the Queen that doesn't require fighting her entire fleet." "We're listening," Vril said, his voice serious. "The Queen needs tributes," Jack said. "What if you offered her one she couldn't refuse? One with completely new genetic patterns that could enhance her powers more than any Viridian tribute?" "What are you suggesting, human?" Zex asked. Jack took a deep breath. I'm suggesting you offer me as a tribute to Queen Vexara." The command center fell silent after Jack's suggestion. Zex and Vril stared at him. Even Tella seemed shocked. "You would offer yourself as tribute to the Queen?" Vril finally asked. "Yes," Jack said firmly, "but not to serve her, to defeat her." Zex made a clicking sound. "Explain, human." Jack looked around at the worried faces of the rebels. "If my DNA is compatible with the Queen's biology, I could be the perfect tribute. But what if we modified my genetic material first? What if we added something that would neutralize her powers instead of enhancing them?" Tella's eyes widened. "A biological weapon disguised as a tribute." "Exactly," Jack said. "The Queen would accept me because of the ancient laws, right? She can't refuse a willing tribute, especially one with new genetic patterns that could greatly enhance her powers." Vril paced, considering the idea. It's risky. Even if we could modify your DNA safely, you would have to get close to the Queen. No rebel has ever infiltrated the Imperial Palace and survived. But a tribute would be expected, Jack argued. The guards would have to let me through. The base alarms blared again. A Viridian at a monitor called out, "Imperial scouts are getting closer. We have maybe 6 hours before the main fleet arrives." Vril made a quick decision. "Tella, take the human to the lab. See if his plan has any merit. Zex, prepare the evacuation. If the human's plan fails, we must be ready to leave." In the lab, Tella ran more tests on Jack's blood while he explained his idea in detail. "If we combine these compounds with my DNA, they might temporarily neutralize the Queen's powers when she absorbs them during the tribute ritual," Jack said, pointing to a chemical formula on the screen. Tella worked quickly. "It could work, but the risk to you is enormous. The ritual itself might kill you even without our modifications." "I know," Jack said quietly. "But it's worth trying to stop this war." Tella's scales rippled with emotion. "Why would you do this for us? We took you prisoner. We threatened your life." Jack thought about it. "Because it's the right thing to do. And because I've seen how your people suffer under the Queen, no species should live in fear like that." For several hours, they worked on the formula. Tella created a serum that would temporarily alter Jack's DNA, making it both irresistible to the Queen and potentially devastating to her powers. "The changes will last about 12 hours, Tella explained as she prepared to inject Jack. "After that, your body will return to normal." "That should be enough time," Jack said, rolling up his sleeve. Just then, Zex entered the lab with Commander Vril. "The plan is approved," Zex announced. "But you will not go alone, human. A small team will accompany you to ensure you reach the Queen." Vril nodded. "We have information that the Queen is holding a ceremony in 3 days. All tributes are presented to her then. It's our only chance to get you inside the palace. But first," Zex added, "you need to look the part. No one will believe a human tribute without some ... adjustments." Jack swallowed hard. What kind of adjustments? Several painful hours later, Jack looked at himself in a reflective panel. His skin had been temporarily dyed with a purple tint. Patterns similar to Viridian scale designs were added to his face and hands. Special lenses gave his eyes a yellowish glow. "You won't fool any Viridians up close," Tella said, adjusting the final details. "But from a distance, in the right light, you might pass as a mixed-species tribute." The rebels provided Jack with ceremonial robes worn by tributes. The cloth was soft and shimmered with green and purple patterns. A symbol on the chest marked him as a willing sacrifice. "You must memorize the tribute ritual," Zex instructed. "Any mistake will expose you." Jack spent the next few hours learning the complex ritual. The words were difficult for his human tongue, but he practiced until he could say them correctly. Meanwhile, the rebels prepared a small, fast ship. Only 4 Viridians would accompany Jack, Zex, Tella, and 2 skilled fighters named Krell and Dorn. "The rest of our people will evacuate to our secondary base," Vril explained. "If your mission fails, at least our rebellion will continue." As they prepared to leave, Vril approached Jack. The old commander looked tired but determined. "You surprise me, human," he said. "When Zex first brought you here, I wanted you executed immediately." "I remember," Jack said with a small smile. "Now, you risk your life for our cause." Vril placed a hand on Jack's shoulder. "Whatever happens, you have earned my respect." Jack nodded, touched by the gesture. "Thank you, Commander." The small rebel ship left the asteroid base just as the evacuation began. Hundreds of Viridian vessels scattered in different directions to confuse any Imperial trackers. Their journey to the Imperial homeworld took nearly 2 days. Jack used this time to perfect his disguise and memorize maps of the Imperial Palace. "The tribute ceremony will be held in the Grand Hall," Zex explained, showing Jack a holographic map. "All tributes wait in this chamber before being presented to the Queen one by one." "What about you?" Jack asked. "How will you get into the palace?" "We will pose as your escorts," Tella said. Tributes from distant worlds often bring small entourages. Once inside, Zex continued, we will separate. Krell and Dorn will secure an escape route while Tella and I stay close to you until the presentation begins. Jack studied the map carefully, and if something goes wrong, Zex's 4 eyes blinked slowly. Then we die trying to free our people. A fate many rebels have accepted before us. As they approached the Imperial homeworld, Jack looked out the viewport. The planet was beautiful, purple oceans and green landmasses swirled with white clouds. Hard to believe such a lovely world was home to a tyrannical empire. Their ship joined a line of vessels approaching the capital city. Most were bringing tributes for the ceremony. Imperial patrol approaching, Krell warned from the pilot's seat. Prepare for inspection. Jack pulled his hood lower, hiding his face as the ship's communications system activated. A stern Viridian officer appeared on the screen. Identify yourselves and state your purpose, the officer demanded. Zex stepped forward. Transport vessel from the outer colonies, bringing a tribute for Her Majesty's ceremony. The officer checked something on his screen. Tribute origin not listed in our records. A rare case, Zex said smoothly. A mixed heritage tribute from the border worlds. Partial Viridian ancestry, but with unique genetic patterns our colony leaders believed would please Her Majesty. The officer looked suspicious, but nodded. Proceed to Landing Bay 12. Any weapons will be confiscated, and your tribute will be scanned before the ceremony. When the communication ended, Jack let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. "That was close," he said. "The hard part hasn't begun yet," Tella replied, adjusting Jack's robes one last time. "Remember, once we're inside, speak as little as possible. Let us do the talking." The ship descended toward the massive Imperial Palace. It gleamed with green and purple lights, towers stretching high into the sky. Jack felt his heart race. In just a few hours he would face Queen Vexara herself. The fate of the rebellion, and possibly his own survival, depended on his performance as a tribute. "Ready?" Zex asked as the ship touched down. Jack nodded, feeling the weight of the mission. "Ready." The Imperial Palace was even more impressive inside than outside. Tall columns of green crystal supported high ceilings. The floors were polished stone that reflected the light. Guards in shining armor stood at every doorway. Jack kept his head down as they were led through the grand halls. His heart pounded so loudly he worried the guards might hear it. Zex and Tella walked beside him while Krell and Dorn followed behind. "All tributes this way," a guard announced. Pointing to a large chamber, inside the chamber, about 20 other Viridians waited in similar robes to Jack's. They all had the same symbol on their chest marking them as tributes. Some looked excited, others nervous. None seemed to notice anything strange about Jack, too focused on their own upcoming presentations. "The scanning will begin soon," Zex whispered to Jack. "Remember what we practiced," a palace official entered the room. "Tributes will be scanned one by one before the ceremony. When your name is called, step forward." Jack felt panic rising. He didn't have a Viridian name on the list. Tella sensed his worry and leaned close. "We registered you under the name Jekhar from the outer colonies," she whispered. "Just remember to respond." One by one, tributes were called forward and taken to another room. Each returned looking relieved or disappointed. Jack realized they were being tested for compatibility with the Queen. "Jekhar from the outer colonies," the official finally called. Jack stepped forward, trying to keep his movements smooth like a Viridian's. The official led him to a small room where another Viridian in white robes waited with a strange device. "Stand." Still, the white-robed Viridian ordered. The device hummed as it passed over Jack's body. Jack held his breath. Praying the modifications Tella had made would work, the scanner beeped and the Viridian looked at the results. His 4 eyes widened in surprise. "This is unusual," he said. "Your genetic pattern is unlike any I've seen." Dick stayed silent as instructed. The Viridian studied the readings again. "High compatibility rating," he muttered. "Very high." He pressed a button on his robe. "This tribute will be presented first." Jack was led back to the main chamber where Zex waited. What happened? Zex whispered. I'm going first, Jack replied quietly. The scanner showed high compatibility. Zex's scales rippled with excitement. Perfect. The Queen will not be able to resist such a tribute. A loud gong sounded, and all the tributes looked toward the main doors. The ceremony begins, the official announced. Tributes follow in the order assigned. Jack was placed at the front of the line. Zex and Tella could only watch as he was led away. Remember the plan, Tella whispered as he passed. We will be waiting. The tributes were led into a massive hall filled with hundreds of Viridians in fancy clothes. They must be the nobles and important officials of the Empire. They all stood as the tributes entered. At the far end of the hall, on a raised platform, sat QueenHFY. Jack tried not to stare, but she was impossible to ignore. Larger than most Viridians, her scales were a deep, rich purple with intricate patterns that seemed to glow. She wore a crown of green crystals and robes that sparkled with embedded gems. Her four eyes glowed brighter than any Jack had seen. The tributes were lined up before the platform. Jack stood at the front, his heart racing. This was it. Everything depended on the next few minutes. A Viridian in elaborate robes stepped forward. Your Majesty, we present the tributes who wish to offer themselves in service to your glory and the Empire's future. QueenHFY nodded. Her voice was deep and powerful as she spoke. Let the first tribute approach. Jack stepped forward and knelt as he had been taught. He kept his eyes down, hoping the Queen wouldn't notice his human features from a distance. This tribute comes from the outer colonies, the official announced. A mixed heritage, but with remarkable genetic compatibility. The Queen leaned forward, interested. Approach, tribute. Jack stood and walked up the steps to the platform. He could feel the Queen's gaze studying him. Up close, she would surely notice he wasn't Viridian. You are different, she said, her voice curious rather than suspicious. Your patterns are unusual. Jack bowed his head. I offer myself willingly as tribute, Your Majesty, he said in careful Viridian, the word Zex had taught him. The Queen's eyes narrowed. Your accent is strange. What colonies do you come from? This was the dangerous moment. Jack took a deep breath and looked up, meeting the Queen's gaze directly. I come from Earth, Your Majesty, gasps filled the hall. The Queen stood suddenly, her scales darkening with anger. A human? Here? Guards! Guards rushed forward, but stopped when the Queen raised her hand. She was staring at Jack with a mix of anger and curiosity. Yet you wear the tribute symbol, she said. You offer yourself willingly? I do, Jack said clearly, loud enough for all to hear. By the ancient laws, you cannot refuse a willing tribute, especially one with high compatibility. The Queen hissed. You know our ways, human, how? I've studied your people. I know about the tributes you need to maintain your powers. Jack stood tall. I also know my genetic material is more compatible with yours than any Viridian in generations. The hall was completely silent now. The Queen seemed torn between rage and interest. Prove your compatibility, she challenged. Jack held out his arm. Test my blood again if you wish. The Queen nodded to a nearby scientist, who quickly took a sample of Jack's blood and ran it through a device. The scientist's eyes widened as he read the results. It's true, Your Majesty. Compatibility is higher than any tribute in the past 50 years. The Queen's anger faded, replaced by hungry curiosity. Perhaps the gods have sent us a new source of power. She turned to the crowd. Leave us. The tribute ritual is private. The nobles and officials filed out, followed by the guards and other tributes. Jack saw Zex and Tella near a side door, watching anxiously. They had to leave too, but Jack knew they would find a way to help him escape afterward. Soon only Jack and the Queen remained in the massive hall. You are either very brave or very foolish, human, QueenHFY said, walking around Jack in a circle. Do you understand what the tribute ritual entails? I do, Jack said. My genetic material will be absorbed by you, enhancing your powers. The Queen laughed. That is what the common people believe? The truth is more intimate. Few tributes survive the process. Jack tried to hide his fear. Tella had warned him the ritual might kill him, but he had to try. I am willing regardless. The Queen smiled, showing sharp teeth. Then let us begin. She raised her hands and green energy flowed from her fingers. Surrounding Jack, he felt his skin tingle as the modified serum in his blood activated. What is this? The Queen suddenly hissed. Your blood ... it changes. Jack smiled grimly. A gift from the rebellion, Your Majesty. The Queen screamed as the energy between them reversed direction. Instead of flowing from Jack to her, it flowed from her into him. Her powers were being neutralized. Just as they had planned, the doors burst open and Zex rushed in with Tella and a group of rebels. They had been waiting for this moment. Queen Vexara, Zex announced, your reign of terror ends today. The Queen tried to summon her powers but couldn't. She collapsed to her knees, weakened. What have you done to me? She gasped. Temporarily neutralized your abilities, Jack explained, fighting to stay conscious as the energy continued to flow between them. Long enough for the rebellion to demand changes. Zex stepped forward. We don't want to kill you, Vexara. We want a new Viridian society, one where the people have a voice and where other species are treated with respect. The Queen looked around at the rebels surrounding her. Without her powers, without her guards, she was vulnerable for the first time in her long reign. The Empire will never accept this, she said weakly. They will when they learn how dependent your power is on tributes. Tella said. When they learn you can be defeated by a single human. Hours later, Jack sat in a medical room as Tella treated the burns on his arms from the energy transfer. You survived, she said with relief. Few tributes ever do. What happens now? Jack asked. Zex entered the room, looking tired but satisfied. The Queen has agreed to our terms. A council will be formed. The Empire will change. And Earth? Jack asked. Protected, Zex promised. And recognized as an ally, not a resource to be exploited. Jack smiled weakly. Not bad for a prisoner who was almost executed. Zex made the clicking sound that Jack now recognized as laughter. You are no longer a prisoner, Jack Harper. You are a hero to the Viridian people. Jack looked out the window at the beautiful planet below. His journey had started with being taken by alien rebels. It had ended with him becoming a bridge between two species. I want to stay, Jack said suddenly, to help build this new relationship between our worlds. Tella's scales brightened with happiness. We were hoping you would say that. As the first light of dawn broke over the Imperial City, Jack knew his life had changed forever. But this time, it was his choice. And he couldn't wait to see what would happen next.